Hi. How are we? I'm so sorry that it's been so long since we've caught up, but yeah, life's been busy, started a new job. I'm glad that we can catch up now though. What better topic to return with than the reason that we're all here, let's be honest, Hozier. We have the final installment of the Unreal Unearth project, which is the EP Unaired, and we will be getting all into the finer details of that. So if you're keen, grab a cuppa and we will get into it. It seems like with every release from Andrew, we get three sort of categories fulfilled. We get something powerful and bold and attention commanding. We get something a little different, a sound that we haven't really heard from him. And then we get something that's very true to his roots and I don't want to say brand because I don't see Hozier as that kind of artist, but the established Hozier sound. And I think the latest release perfectly encapsulates those three categories, which makes this EP really just well-rounded. I'm so excited that all of this has been released, the album and the three EPs, before I see him in November, because it just means I have more of a chance of seeing the songs that I really want to hear. In particular, I just want to see Wildflower and Barley. If anyone watching has any sort of connection to anyone on this team, if you could pass that along, you would make my entire year. It's a very windy day outside, so I'm going to do my best to get the audio right, but I'm very sorry if it interferes. But anyway, let's start at the beginning, which is Nobody's Soldier. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's an epic sound and a really clear, unapologetic message, very in line with Eat Your Young in the way that it sort of comments on the military industry complex, but perhaps in a more obvious way, less metaphoric. Before we jump into the lyrics, I want to just talk about the sound because it is theatrical and foreboding and brilliant. It is brilliant. I'm no expert on instruments, so I can't be sure, but I believe the flares at the beginning are some sort of horn, some sort of brass instrument, and it feels like a call to combat. It's instills this real sense of unease and anxiety, sort of triggers the fight or flight, and it's very effective, particularly when you partner it with this sort of descending, tumbling bass line. It's very cleverly constructed, and I just want to give Hozier and his whole production team the flowers they deserve for that. I really think it should be used in a movie at some point. The beat is very addictive. It kind of reminds me of Elvis Costello, Pump It Up. I don't know if I've mentioned on this channel before, but I love Elvis Costello, and I think he's one of the coolest people to have ever existed and still exists. He's not dead. I can absolutely see this track being as successful as Too Sweet, and I hope that we get to see that happen, because any day that a true artist gets to top the charts is a great day. Let's hit this first verse. Running with bulls, working my miracles, holding my world together on a bootstring, living the dream, benzos and gasoline, coffee and blue light screens till the morning. To me, this is depicting life as a touring artist, which is a very abnormal existence. It's very removed from what normal life is. Running with bulls, working miracles, these are not typical or mundane experiences. It's an extraordinary way to live. And I think the line, holding my world together on a bootstring, is a way of describing how delicate that lifestyle actually is. I know touring artists and I know the toll that it takes. Your sleep schedule is completely out of whack. When you eat, when you have downtime, it all gets blown out of the water, and that can take a really serious toll on both your physical and your mental health. You can feel like your sanity is hanging by a thread or a bootstring, and you don't know what is going to be the little thing that just snaps it. It also kind of reminds me of the term shoestring budget, and I have some experience with touring budgets, and them shits are tight, and it doesn't matter how big of an artist you are. It is rough. Living the dream, I think, can be taken both in an earnest way and a sarcastic way, because Hozier is living out his dream of being an artist. But I think it could also be a comment on how the outside views his lifestyle. Because he's living this extraordinary life, I think people on the outside might be quick to shoot down complaints or concerns that he may have because people have it a lot worse than him. But in reality, everyone's human, and no matter your income or where you are in the world, everyone has real struggles. Benzos, gasoline, coffee, and blue light screens, all things that are part of the tour experience and things that are not privy to the outside. I also feel that this can be easily translated to be a comment on just the state of working life. You know, we've been sold this dream of you work hard, so you get a good job, so you can buy a house. But the reality is that idea is very quickly falling through our fingers. And I might even argue that it's already gone. It was just published this week that the top 10 vocations in Australia, on average, cannot afford a house. Working full-time cannot afford a mortgage. So you work tirelessly for very little payoff. So we do sort of self-medicate with things like caffeine and doom scrolling. If I tell you this is drowning, you tell me I'm walking on water. I could bring fire from the mountain, you tell me it feels a little colder. I think, again, this is commentary on the way that we are told that we're not allowed to complain or voice our concerns about our society. He can tell people that he feels like he is drowning, but that is not properly heard. And he's told, actually, you're succeeding, so you should be grateful. Side note, does anyone else think that the walking on water thing might also be a little dig at the people that call him the Irish Jesus? I don't know. I feel like that's something he would do. I love this imagery of bringing fire from the mountain. I'm pretty sure it is in reference to Prometheus, who defied the gods of Olympus by bringing fire down from the mountain to, you know, the mortals as a gift. And it sort of represents the birth of civilization and technology. And of course, there was massive punishment for that. Prometheus was condemned by Zeus to be bound to a rock, and then an eagle would come and eat out his liver every day, because every night the liver would grow back. So he would have to endure this all day, every day, for the rest of eternity. Lovely guy, that Zeus. So I think this is a way of saying, I can work so hard and sacrifice so much to appease you, but you still say, yeah, you could have done better though. And that's very much how it feels to live in a capitalist world. I don't want to choose between being a salesman or a soldier. Just let me look a little older, let me step a little bolder. Great juxtaposition here between salesman and soldier. I think because of how interwoven industry and military is, and how corrupt it is as a business, and all the things that the government doesn't tell you, it can sort of feel like no matter what you do, you either put everything on the line to fight against it, or you are non-consensually funding these atrocities through your taxes. Neither are ideal, salesman or soldier. It's also applicable to Hozier's career. How do you balance selling records with speaking up about what you feel is right? And can you do both, or do you have to choose between them? There will be people who believe that any attempt to try and be political should not have any sort of monetary gain attached to it. And in some cases, yeah, I can agree. But for an artist like Hozier, I don't think that that's something that he should have to choose between, and he doesn't believe that either. Just let me look a little older. Aging is a privilege. It shouldn't be, but it is. And becoming a soldier is putting your right to age very much at jeopardy. So just let him live, let him breathe. Also, just let people live a little before you force them to make life-altering decisions. I never understand why people are just allowed to walk straight from school into the military. Choose between being a butcher or a pauper. Honey, I'm taking no orders, gonna be nobody's soldier. We're always told that you have to be ruthless to get ahead in life and, you know, get what you want and be successful. So this choice between a butcher and a pauper, it's sort of saying you either come at things with brutality or you financially suffer. And it shouldn't be that way. That should not be your two options. That's not fair. And these are not rules that Hozier is going to let dictate his life. He's not going to be taking orders from anyone, the establishment, the industry, fans, no one. And he certainly won't be a pawn in anyone's game. Sick to my skin watching the news again. Whatever you choose, you lose out in the long run. Right now, we are more aware than ever of the atrocities that are carried out against our fellow humans. It is on the news, it's on our phones, and in some way, that can be really positive because we can be informed. But it is harrowing and sickening, and it's even worse knowing that your own money goes towards funding it. I voted for who I voted for in Parliament because I thought they would reflect my values and my ideals and what I think is right. But at the end of the day, They're all tied up in deals and money and corruption, and they're not going to help me, let alone the people in Gaza. The paint on the walls come down like a waterfall. The goal I was aiming for was the wrong one. The term "the writings on the wall" means that the outcome of something is very clear, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. And I think this idea of it coming down like a waterfall sort of means we are fucked, and it's very imminent. I'm always very appreciative of Hozier's politically driven songs because I know that he's never doing it just for the sake of doing it or for keeping up appearances. I read recently that he has this sort of litmus test for his songwriting and then keeping his artistic integrity. He asks, does it move me or not? Is it something that I feel is urgent to me and it feels worth writing? If ever the answer is no, I'll let someone else do it. And that's why I don't question his intentions when he puts out works like this. This track is not only an incredible comment on war, but ethical consumption and the broader concept of choice and identity. Because in the age of personal brands, when do we ever get to live as pure individuals? Nobody Soldier is a true triumph of a song. July follows the same vein as Wildflower on Bali in the way that it just feels like something different we haven't heard from Hozier before. There's influences in there that, are just different. It seems Andrew has a real strong tie with summer and what that represents for him and in his relationships. There's definitely some ties between this song and Sunlight from Wasteland Baby. I'm absolutely in love with the sound of this track. I know people have strong views about whether or not artists should evolve their sound out of what they are known for. But personally, I love to see an evolution because if you are just sticking to the same thing, there's a real risk of replicating what you already done to a lower standard. So I'm glad to see Hozier sort of explore outside of his usual realm. And I would love to hear more pop music like this on the charts, just in the way that it has more consideration for sound and composition. Let's get into this first verse. Winter wore me out like I was Prada, threw up on me when the night was through. This is so infuriatingly clever. He is comparing the experience of winter to a drunken night out. You typically dress up for nights out, so he is the Prada that's being worn out on the town, but then totally desecrated at the end of it. You also have this double meaning with worn out because you have like the term being worn out, but then you have like literally being worn out. I don't even know if that made sense as I was saying it. Basically, winter was rough. You can keep a dream in your mind only to find it's the hope that was killing you. Pinning all your hopes on something that isn't certain can be futile, and sometimes just accepting the less attractive alternative is less painful in the long run. But you arrived like sunlight in the gloom and burned off the haze when the year was still new. You see where we're getting the sunlight comparison there? The idea of this person coming along and defrosting his world is so lovely. She is this hope that is getting him through till the summer. Keep me going how you show up like July, July, and July is still coming. It's made real by the things that you do. And July, July, and July is still coming, just knowing that it's getting me through. July was when restrictions were going to be eased in Ireland during the pandemic. And so he's saying this person is his July, and he's even more optimistic because he still has actual July to look forward to. He's getting double July. It's this beautiful hope that she's been able to foster within him. And you can go to work until your disaster, babe. Build your temple, the sound and stone. Put in all of the time only to find by the end that your god has flown. So the July reopening didn't actually happen. So people had put all of their hopes and their plans into that. Only for it to not eventuate. They built their temples, their purpose around it. What they were waiting on had disappeared, and all this work became pointless. And I mean, a lot of people had to leave behind their careers altogether, or whatever they were doing altogether, because a lot of industries still haven't been able to rebuild. Or all alone he sank like a stone, took root where he fell and started to grow, blooming beyond us like the promise of July. These lyrics I found particularly captivating because for me it represents the alternate paths that may have been revealed for people because of the pandemic. Perhaps it revealed new purposes for people. After all, we had a lot of time to sit and reflect, and maybe what we fell into could have some incredible things come from it. For me personally, I had to leave the music industry, which is always my ultimate dream. I work in fashion retail now, and actually I've found that having a main income that I don't have to stress about all the time is really good for my mental health. I love the simplicity of what I do, and it has allowed me to fall back in love with the music industry because I had so much resentment about the way things played out. I think July is a great track for us all to keep in our mental health first aid kits. I think we all have something we can hold on to. We all have a July, something that can keep us warm, and it's good to be reminded of that. That You Are is our final song, and the one that feels truest to Hozier's folk roots. It features Bedouin, and I am ashamed to say I had not heard of her before, but I'm so glad that I have now because my God, what a voice. If you're in the same boat as I was, she is a Syrian-born folk artist, and please go listen to Bird Songs of a Killjoy. It is brilliant. We're going back to the 13th century on this one because it's actually based around Dante Alighieri, who you would know about if you watched our previous videos about the whole Unreal Unearth project, and his lifelong devotion to his muse, Beatrice Portinari. Beatrice appears in a lot of Dante's work, including Inferno. She appears as a heavenly figure, but he also dedicated an entire work to her called La Vita Nuova. I'm going to read an excerpt from this just so you can get a handle on the level of devotion we are talking about here. She appeared dressed in the most patrician of colours, a subdued and decorous crimson, her robe bound round and adorned in a style suitable to her years. At that very moment, and I speak the truth, the vital spirit, the one that dwells in the most secret chamber of the heart, began to tremble so violently that even the most minute veins of my bodies were strangely affected, and trembling it spoke these words: "Here is a God stronger than I who comes to rule over me." I've been single for way too long, and it shows. It is pure worship, which is a theme that's very common in Hozier's work. It's the sound of it that brings me there, the city locked into the song of prayer that finds no melody. Both Ireland and Italy have very strong ties to Catholicism, so Dante's story actually provides a really good reference point for Hozier to reflect on and draw from. To me, these first lines sort of show a disconnection between this person and the world around them, not understanding what they are devoted to because what he has is so much greater. Every movement of the working day, the twisting muscles in each step I take, the prayer is all of me. At this point, someone needs to take the pen away from Mr. Hozier Byrne because writing like that should be illegal. In one foul swoop, he has instantly ruined the romantic expectations of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people around the globe because that is so devastatingly romantic, it is outrageous. The pure existence of this person is a prayer for the one that they love. Everything they do, everything that they are is for them. The prayer is all of me. That is unfair. That I'd be anywhere that you are, that you are. Simple and lovely, but so impactful. I mean, in Inferno, Dante literally went through the 7 circles of hell to see Beatrice. He would go anywhere that she is. I really think this is the first dance song that we were waiting for. It's so beautiful. Maybe I've yet to venture out, see the places that I hear about. Planes and trains and cars carve their lines into a curve-like blade. All I get are mistakes half made, leave the door ajar. This verse I would actually love to hear your feedback on because it kind of stumped me. My interpretation is that this is Beatrice's side talking, and perhaps she has doubts about where she wants to go and what she wants. But no matter what she is doing or decides to do, the door is always open for Dante. And perhaps that's what Hozier thinks Dante would have wanted to believe, because in reality, Beatrice is a woman that he only met once or twice. Maybe deep down he knows that she is not in love with him in the way that he is with her. And so it's easier to believe that it's not that she doesn't love him, she's just a freer spirit in comparison, and she wants him, but she also wants to explore. I mean, this is a man that wrote "To her perfection all of beauty tends." Of course, that's not someone you want to give up on hope for. This track is so stunning and so pure and just like the perfect red ribbon to tie this whole project up with. My throat is on absolute fire. I am out of practice with speaking this long, So I think it is now time to hand it over to you guys. If you are new to this channel, this is not just about me telling you my opinion. This is a very collaborative space, and there is nothing I love more than watching the comment sections get lit up. I join in and seeing all of your ideas, whether you agree with me, whether you definitely don't, whether there's something you want to build on that I've said, or if there's something I've missed completely, please do not hesitate to get stuck in. I'm so sad that this might be the closing of Hozier's active era. Of course, I still get to see him in November, and I'm so grateful for what we have been given in this album cycle. I mean, 3 EPs and an LP, very generous, and Hozier is very deserving of some rest and recuperation. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. It really means the world, and even if you don't have anything you particularly want to comment, I would just love to hear about who you are and where you're watching from. So please introduce yourself if you haven't already. Give this a like if you enjoyed it, maybe share it with a friend, and if you would like to join our little gang that we have here on YouTube, we would love to have you, and all you have to do is subscribe. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever it is, wherever you are, and I will see you very soon. It's good to be back.